Hey everybody, Brian here from the LTL True Crime Podcast. And if you've been subscribed to my channel, you know that I've put a lot of work into reporting and investigating the Chelsea Grimm disappearance. And if you're not familiar with that case, Chelsea Grimm was a young lady that was traveling from the West Coast out to the East Coast for a wedding and got as far as Arizona and essentially had disappeared. Now, I started investigating this just a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't realize the extent and how close I would get to people that are familiar or friends with Chelsea. And it's been a very interesting experience so far. And what I've done is I've had the opportunity to have a couple of those people on my podcast. One was a friend of Chelsea that joined my panel twice. And then I had a gentleman that came on that was actually a friend of her ex-boyfriend, PJ, and was part of a very controversial GoFundMe account, and his name was Elias. So what I've done here is put a compilation together of those interviews so you can watch them in their entirety. And I've put so much work into this case that it's gotten a little bit personal, and feel like I have kind of this personal connection to Chelsea. I mean, I've never met Chelsea in my entire life, but when you start to put this much time into research and get to know who the person is that you're trying to find, again, you just kind of feel this connection to them. So I'm trying to do my best here to report on this. I'm trying to get the best relative information out there. And please, if you know anything, if you see anything, you hear anything, please report it to the proper authorities, because there are a lot of friends and family that do care about Chelsea, and we just want to see her come home. So please sit back, relax, watch these interviews, get informed. And again, if you know anything, see anything, hear anything, please inform the proper authorities. And we want to see Chelsea come home. So thank you. Brian here from LTL Podcast. Who do we have?
This is Artemis.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Just getting over a cold. I think it's COVID, so sorry if I
Oh,
sound
no.
a but yeah. So Shara and I believe there might have been someone else on there that knows her. We've all been pretty worried about her. We all know her from high school, and have a little group chat of our own on Instagram.
Sure.
So we've been kind of following this story as closely as possible. I've been in contact with her sister, and the family is praying. Yeah, you can just go ahead and ask any questions if you want, and I can kind of fill in the blanks.
So the thing that's a little bit weird to me, and it's bizarre, is that when we hear about her in Siegelman trying to exchange euros for
Right.
American currency at that motel, is there any other information about that, or what have you heard about that?
I haven't heard too much about that. I think the things that jump out the most to us, including the family,
Sure.
is that this would be a case of mental health crisis. I don't think her family is thinking that that might be. I mean, I feel like it could be that. It could be the neighbor, and I think I might have emailed this to you.
Sure.
Had a correspondence with me, and he had let me know, and in a post somewhere, he had told the public that she was hanging around some people that were not so good, and he said that they were involved in meth, taking meth, and this is not in her character. So I don't know if when she moved from the East Coast to LA a few years ago, I think she moved in like 2020.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I think she maybe fell into the wrong crowd. I think she had a breakup with her long-term boyfriend from the East Coast that she met up with it when she went to NYU.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to say she probably just fell into the wrong crowd, this PJ guy. Although I feel hesitant because I feel like people should be looking at him, but there's also a possibility, and her sister had let me know, we really feel like this is just could possibly be a sideshow, and this guy is just looking to
capitalize on it. Yeah.
But anything's possible at this point because we just simply don't know. And if she's trying to exchange euros, I know she went on like in a pretty extensive backpacking trip in Europe a couple of years ago. She might have had euros on her, and packed up her car. This is just speculation.
Sure.
And then she, maybe she was on drugs or tweaking or something and had a come down, or maybe it was a mental health breakdown, and went to a motel and was trying to exchange the euros or pay for the motel in euros. That's just one possibility. But I feel like at this point, it's like, we really just don't know why she was doing that. And we're all just trying to find answers as much as everybody else. So us all in our little Instagram group following her, and the footsteps and everything that we've been able to find on Instagram, and through some of us have actually spoken to her maybe even a couple weeks before her trip.
Mm-hmm.
I myself haven't spoken to her in maybe a year.
Okay.
But some people had shared, that she had kind of a sketchy situation with an ex-boyfriend, and there were some DMs that friends had shared between amongst each other, and we're like, there's something up with this PJ guy. We just don't know to what extent, if that makes sense.
Sure. Do you know who, there's a question, Lucky Phil is saying, do you know who was getting married out in the East Coast that she was traveling out there to?
All I know is that she had told one of the group members of our group, our mutual friends, we're all friends together, that she was meeting her best friend for the wedding. And I believe it was in New York City, was what she said in the direct message screenshot. And she seemed really excited about it. Like, she was like, she wanted to go. And I believe maybe there were some reservations and something having to do with an ex-boyfriend hanging out with a female friend in San Diego or in the California area.
Sure.
So there was some kind of hesitancy there, but all I know is that it was her best friend from New York, and she was getting married.
So Shara says, when I last heard from her, she was worried about her close friends communicating with PJ and fearful for her safety.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was, honestly, it was probably the message between Shara and Chelsea.
And again, when we say all this stuff, it's alleged. We're not implicating anybody. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that online and on air and out there in the public. We're just saying allegedly, because we really don't know. Another thing that was just very strange about it, and I was talking about earlier, is that where her car was found and how the condition it was found in, 2 flat tires on the same side of the car doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. That's very strange. The possibility of that actually happening out in a very remote area, I could see maybe 1 flat tire, but 2 just seems odd. It almost seems like someone slashed the tires or something like that.
Right. And I even said to my group just a little bit ago, I feel like this is 3 different possibilities at this point. She either planned this in some way or decided, I'm gonna, some people don't want to be found. There's no rhyme or reason to it necessarily, and that's just a sad fact. So there's, that option, and she had this kind of planned out. And then the other option is, of course, foul play, and someone deliberately took the air out of those tires and took her. Something happened on that road. And then the other option would be just that, I guess, that she got on that road and she decided just to, maybe she did get a flat, and she decided to walk, and she was delirious or something. It's, I feel like with those options, she ended up walking away from that car.
Yeah. Something got her away from that car.
Yeah, exactly.
Shar says some of the comments on Reddit, I'm sorry to cut you off, says on Reddit about the terrain said that it was rough. I'm sure the police would have shared if the tires was out. Not necessarily, Shar, because we follow a lot of cases here, and you don't get always the full information. And sometimes law enforcement will leave that out because maybe they may be questioning people or talking to people to see what they say. So not necessarily, I will say that. But it's interesting. The 2 flat tires just seems very strange to me. Do you know anybody that is the most recent friend that may have talked with her or spoke with her, and what that last communication might have been?
I don't want to bother her sister because she was trying to take a break from all the PJ drama.
Right.
So I did send her a DM earlier and just said, hey, I don't want to press anymore, but that was a question we had because none of us really know who this Arizona friend of hers is that she met up with, and that's like a huge
question
gap
mark
in the story, I think.
Okay. Interesting.
So that's a piece of the puzzle we all want to know.
So that could have been, I wonder if that was, like I was saying earlier, it could have been someone off like a dating app. Was she known to use that stuff or meet guys from there? Twinder, or what is the Twinder?
Well,
Tinder or Bumble?
I don't think it was a male because there's something in her saved stories on her Instagram, and I believe her Instagram is public, but there's something in her saved story that says, like, two or 3 days before she went missing, it says, on my way to AZ to meet my girlie. And so there, it was clearly a female that she was going to meet. So we don't know who that person was. And we searched and tried to find. We do know, though, that a year ago she did a solo retreat in Arizona.
Yeah.
It was kind of like I don't even really know the details on that retreat, but it looked like some kind of a nature retreat, or I don't know if it was like a self-help place.
Right.
But there's stuff about that on her saved story as well. So she's familiar with the Arizona area. We definitely have alumni from our school that live in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But no one to our knowledge knows of anything about her, passing through Arizona and meeting up with any of us. So that rules us out. And so it might just be somebody, and Arizona isn't that far away from California.
Right.
So who knows, who she could have met.
I just think it's interesting too when we looked at the map that I put together tonight, that it almost seemed like she wanted to go back west at her most furthest point, at the last point before her car disappeared. It's almost like she was heading back in the direction of San Diego and then took a detour and just went straight north. And then that's when her car is found. So it's really strange.
It is really strange and really bizarre. And of course, we don't want to point fingers at the PJ guy, that it's him. But I did even mention in our group tonight that, hey guys, food for thought, on PJ's TikTok, there's a lot of extensive stuff. I don't know, love of cars and fixing up cars, and he clearly has knowledge about all. Sorry, still really sick.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's COVID.
Oh no,
it's totally sucks. But this guy has a lot of knowledge about fixing up cars, and I think at one point he even helped her tow her car or something. That's in her saved stories.
Interesting.
So he knows how to he fixed up his van, his camper.
Yeah.
Himself. Excuse me, sorry.
That's okay.
But yeah, I think he's definitely someone of interest and someone that would even know information, because he would be someone that she recently talked to.
Right.
So, I mean, I did speak to the Coconino Police Department yesterday.
Sure.
And I gave all of our information that we have. So
right.
They are on. Oh my gosh!
I feel so bad.
They are on the same page. Yeah, they are on the same page, and they know everything. So they have everything, and they even seemed surprised, with the whole GoFundMe page that he had posted, and we're like, really, wow. And immediately, which was really weird, was that a couple hours after I had reported into them, PJ left Elias. They were together, and then they just did.
Wow.
And I had a conversation with Elias through direct message.
Sure. As
well as Chelsea's sister had a conversation with him as well. And I didn't give away my phone number. I didn't want him to have my phone number. I did get his, but and made sure I got it in case police needed it or something like that.
Right.
But he did let me know that PJ was trying to threaten him physically, and he called the police on PJ. and there was this whole drama scene or something. This guy clearly seems unhinged as well as PJ. And then the last I know is that PJ was trying to call Elias and get a Greyhound to get to an airport, and to go where we're not really sure, but that was the whole PJ drama. But again, it's like, is this just a distraction, or is this something that
should be looked into? Yeah. Wow, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. I honestly didn't when I started to look into this, because there's not that much information. I'm like, what can I get out of this tonight? I want to give back this poor girl. Like, we don't know where she is. It's just a mystery. You're out in the middle of Arizona and you just disappear. I'm like, how can I bring this to my audience? And it's crazy. It just seems like the story has tons of legs, and we want to definitely get Chelsea back home safe. Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to do that. That's why I do cases like this, to get information out there of the cases that aren't being talked about in the mainstream media. That's why I think, independent media is going to be the wave of the future. We can report on this, get directly to the people that are involved or have information to these cases, and get it out there in some awareness. I want to do this because I know you don't feel well, and I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I appreciate you calling in. If I do another show in a couple of days, maybe as some new information comes in, could you call back in and maybe give us an update?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Hopefully I'll be sounding better by then, for sure. So I'm on the mend for sure. I'm a lot better than I was yesterday or the day before, but
that's great.
But yeah, just reach out to me. I did send you an email.
Yeah.
Did see that, and I'll email you again just so you know who I am.
Okay.
I go under Elias on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I will email you. I'll also email you. I think Shara probably emailed this to you, but there is a video of him that was deleted of PJ.
I didn't get that, so yeah, I'd love to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, real quick, how did you find? Have you been subscribed here, or did you just recently find me through this?
I think I found you might have maybe through like a hashtag, and I threw the YouTube channel in our group. So
wow.
We started watching. We were actually waiting since yesterday. I was like, oh, this person's going live and talking about it. So we all knew that it was coming up tonight.
Oh, that's great. And listen, I don't put anything out there to offend anybody. We try to, what I do is I stick, what LTL podcast does is I always say we because of my subscribers. We stick to the facts. We don't exploit anybody. We put relevant information out there. We are very sympathetic to all of the victims, the friends, the families, the community here on this podcast. And we want to just get it right. And that's why I ask for people, if you have information in a legitimate, credible source, fill us in and let us know, because we want to get the word out about these victims, and we want to get correct information out there. And again, I spent like 4 hours on the map today, and I just watched her, looked at her movements. I read through dozens of articles and put this all together. And I said, it's just strange. It's odd and it's strange. And hopefully, we have some good news soon here. So, thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. Let's stay in contact. I'd love to have you call back and give us an update in a couple of days.
Will do. Yeah. Thank you so much. Also, like I did follow the Gabby Petito case pretty extensively back when that happened. I know there's a lot of there's definitely some vibes going on with this case, and unfortunately it's happened to somebody that I know personally. But yeah, just again, thank you for the transparency and making sure you're getting the information out, because I know with that case there was a lot of people were going in all different directions in that case. So.
Well, I mean, it's the same way too. We follow the Idaho 4 case. I'm sure you've heard of it. And there's a lot of BS around that case, and there's a lot of victim bashing in that case, and it's disgusting because there's YouTube channels out there that use these cases to exploit for clicks and views and put awful information out there about the victims and the families. I'm frankly, excuse my language, I'm fucking tired of it. It's not right, because the bottom line is this: when I go to bed at night, I have to feel good when I lay my head on the pillow about the information that I put out there about somebody. I would not want that done to me, one of my family members or friends. So I don't understand why people would do that on the flip side. And I think a lot of it is because they hide behind a screen, they hide behind a camera, and they don't have that personal connection to that victim, the friends, family, or the community. And it's pretty disgusting. I call it out all the time. I think it's disgusting, and it shouldn't be done. And hopefully, that these families are smart and they go after these people civilly for the crap that they put out there. But I digress.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. So
yeah, but
thank
please,
you again. I will be in touch. I'll shoot you an email right now.
Great.
After we hang up.
Hey, feel better. Thank you for calling
Thank
in.
you.
Get some rest, and we'll catch up in a couple of days.
Will do. Thanks so much.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Great. That's awesome.
Before
Good
I do
stuff.
that, I'm just going to bring on one of Chelsea's friends that has actually called in the other night. Let's bring her up. So we have Artemis here joining me again. How are you this evening? I don't know if she can hear me.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, you might want to just turn down your background.
Yeah, I think we were in the other room watching.
No problem.
So I'm not sure, like the live and everything.
Sure.
If it's timed correctly, we might be a little bit behind because we might have been watching. But so
Nope,
far,
you're live.
as we've been watching, yeah, and we've been catching up on our little group chat that we have.
Yep.
There's just been a lot of information from the mainstream media, and that's great. That's great news.
Right.
And then today I was able to actually contact Kelly Townsend, who's their private investigator.
Yep.
And he's wonderful.
Great.
I was able to kind of compile everything that we've been talking about in our
Yep.
group chat
Right.
and give him everything. I think you saw all of that. So
Yep.
that's great. And once we are able to release some of that information more publicly, we will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it may or may not have been talked about, but because I think they do have some leads that are of importance, we want to just make sure, and respectfully and understandably, we want to make sure that we're not, alerting any possible suspects or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know, like we talked about, I don't know, 24 hours ago. I hope you're feeling a little bit better. I know you haven't
Yeah,
been
getting
feeling
there.
well, and I appreciate you doing this. And I don't know if you heard at the very beginning of the podcast, is that I really appreciate you all reaching out to me and accepting me in that group. And again, I said that I haven't really been talking much in there. I've just been mostly observing. And I have to say, it's probably over a dozen people in that group, maybe a little bit more. I have to say, I can truly feel in my heart when I look at that chat, you all really care for Chelsea and want her to come home. And the super sleuth thing that's been going on there has been amazing. And,
Yeah.
the slew of information has been fantastic. So I want to commend all of you in that chat. And again, just thank you for allowing me to be in there.
Yeah, thank you. I think adding you was a great ad. We had a couple more ads that, might have been more just linked to some of us.
Sure.
Not necessarily directly friends of Chelsea's, but people we thought would be beneficial to be in that group chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was a great idea. Some of us were like, should we be inviting these people on? But it turned out to be a really good thing.
Yeah. And, and like, as I said, and as I said here, I personally don't know Chelsea. Obviously, I know 3 days of what I've been doing is streaming and reading about her and doing some, excuse me, and doing some research on her and kind of getting to know her through there. I can't speak for her. I can't speak to her as a friend, but my whole point was to just open my platform for you all to get information or to get her story out there. And I wanted to be the liaison between that and allow you all to do this. So that's kind of my sole purpose in doing all of this.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. And I did catch a little bit before I went on the StreamYard, you just talking about, how you are not the mainstream media, of course, and they're going to kind of overshadow a little bit, unfortunately, the smaller channels and people, like you, and you are someone who, and I can vouch for that for anyone listening, you are someone who is connected to the people that know her.
Yeah.
And so if people do want, to listen to someone who isn't just, putting speculation out there,
Yeah.
then obviously your stream is a great place to go to.
Yeah, I
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah. And so as we go forward and we'll see what this PI has to say. He was texting back and forth with me tonight about a few things. I was
Mhm.
able to kind of drop a couple of
I've seen the
information.
screenshots, so if anybody's
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we're not making this up. This is a legitimate thing. Like I've
Yeah.
seen the screenshots, I'm seeing the documents they're putting together. So, it's not BS. So I know like a lot of people do this stuff for clicks and views. It's totally not
Right.
BS. I mean, I can literally do this. Hang on. I'm not going to show the chat, but I can show like the chat. Like here's our chat. So I think
Yeah.
people can see that there's a
It's
chat
a lot
going
of
on.
people. I think at
A
this
lot of
point it's
people.
more than like it's definitely more than a dozen
But it's
people at
good.
this
Yeah,
point. We
yeah,
could
it's probably
almost
20
have
or
like
so when I looked last time.
20.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. So we spoke maybe 24 hours ago. How are you feeling now versus, 24 hours, 48 hours ago? Are you on a different path in this investigation or feeling maybe a different way of what might have happened or what could have happened at this point?
I think there's a mix of a bunch of different emotions because we're all feeling a couple of things. I think I can speak for most of everybody in that
Sure.
group is that some of us are still feeling, and rightfully so, very frustrated.
Mm,
And then a lot of us now I think are feeling really just motivated. We're like,
yeah,
okay,
so
enough's enough.
motivated.
Let's figure this out. And I mean, I even said to someone tonight, I'm not sure if it was the PI or who I was talking to, like at one point I was like, should we go out there? Like
Yeah,
we feel, I'm on the East Coast. I've got twin babies and my
yeah.
life here, and I just was sick for 5 days. So it's hard for me to, and you don't want to step on the family's toes
Right,
either. So it's a
right.
little bit like, you know, but you want to do something, and you would hope to if that it were you or, you know, you know, eh, someone would do this for you. So
Mhm.
you would want to do the same for them and Chelsea, and our all of our experiences with Chelsea have kind of spanned over the last 15 plus years. And we all went to boarding school with her. Most of us did, at least. Some of them in the group are neighbors, some are
Yeah.
friends from, other walks of life. But
There's some
um
friends that live in Arizona, right in and around that area, or
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. So it's, like, but our bond that we created within our, I guess, our boarding school experience
mhm,
mainly, like that was a unique experience. And, that's not something that we need to focus on right now, but that was a unique experience. And I think that is that's never going to fade away. I think all of us now coming together after so many years,
yeah.
we
It's
hope.
funny, I watched the chat and you're all like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, I haven't talked to you in a while. It's so good that you're in
Right.
here." And I think that, and I wanna put this out there, I think the great thing about what I've seen in there is, you know, I only have a certain level of sleuthing that I can get to connected into these social media platforms, but you all have direct connection into all of these people and direct connection with Chelsea. So you're able to look at things that may be private to me, on
Right.
her social media platforms, but you all can go in there and say, "Hey, did you see this?" Or you'll screen grab something and shoot a picture out. So I think that's been really fascinating to me, watching the chat.
Or
Um,
conversations like, text messages that she might have sent to some
right,
of us before she went missing
right.
or anything like that. Like we have all of that, and I shared all of that with the PI
Yep,
today, and that it's all in the right hands. And I think I didn't go on last night, but before, I might have mentioned in the live the first time I went on that I
sure.
did talk to law enforcement, gave them
Okay,
pretty much the majority of the information that we've been talking about as
mhm,
well. So, like, law enforcement should be on top of it. The PI now has all of our information. Um, And whether or not it's helpful or redundant, I don't know. It seemed to me that, he was eager to know what we were talking about and the information, and asked a few questions and was texting me throughout the night. So that's a good sign
That's a
in
good
my
sign.
mind, because yeah, it's like maybe we're getting somewhere and we can get answers
I don't
soon.
think
And
I don't think there ever
we'll
can
see. I'm
be.
just hoping that we wake up.
Right. I don't think that there ever can be in this situation too much information, because you never know. The smallest thing may
Right.
lead to the biggest discovery, and I think it is good that
Right.
you're all, sharing and talking about the information. Let me ask you a question. Um, Tell me about how you met Chelsea and how long you've known her for.
So I met Chelsea, and with a majority of the people in our group had
Yep.
met Chelsea when we all went to boarding school together,
Okay.
um years ago. Oh my gosh, I graduated, I think, in like 2008.
Okay.
um so that was the last 2 years of high school for me. Some of us, it was, different years, but it was a very specific experience. I'll kind of just leave it at that. And
Hmm.
that um, it was a boarding school up in Montana, and and that also is where she probably got a lot of her wilderness experience that our parents talk about.
Hmm.
Um, so I can just attest that Chelsea, at least as far as my knowledge, she's not like this avid camper or outdoorsy girl. She might have dabbled in it a little bit in recent years, because she lives kind of now in that
Yeah.
she moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, and and I've dabbled in it a little bit too, like in the last 15 years, between the time we were at boarding school and the time we were, now I'm 33 years old.
You're so
So
old.
I know, I feel old. It's like high school feels like forever ago.
Yeah.
But last I spoke to Chelsea, it was about a year ago, and she had just gotten her license. And we're kind of in the same field. Like, I was going into equine therapy, and she was going to be a licensed counselor. And someone else that we knew from Monarch was also getting her license, that was very closely connected to her. And
Hmm.
we were kind of talking about that, and Chelsea was like, "Hey, if you need any help, and you decide you want to go and get your license or do whatever, like, I can help." And I was really thankful to it, and we had a brief conversation. We have mutual friends in New York, in the area that she was living in, and she was like, "Next time you're coming through New York," and this was, I think, around COVID too, so, or maybe after COVID had happened, like 2021 maybe. And so, I whatever reason, we never met up. And then I think I deleted my old Instagram and then got a new one.
Hmm.
Um, and I was following her, and maybe a week or so ago, over a week ago, I think, I looked at one of our mutual friends, and they had a story that said she was missing. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." I
Right.
immediately one of the people that was in her group that was at our boarding school, he is godfather to my twin babies, and we were just with them probably during the time that she went missing. It
That's so
was,
weird.
yeah, we were in New York on September 30th was the baptism.
Yep.
And
Congratulations,
uh
by the way.
thank you.
Yeah.
And it, it, like, it's just so weird. It's like I immediately dropped everything I was doing. And I was like, I've got to call my friend. And I was like, "Hey, did you hear that Chelsea's missing?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "No way. What the heck?" And, I text message everyone I knew that knew her. And so we were just, ever since then, that was over a week ago. We've been frantically looking for clues and information. um, some of us reached out to the family, including myself, and um, and now here we are.
Right.
And we're just hoping and praying that when we are able to all have a reunion together again, that we can include Chelsea in that. And you know, we're definitely, I think, preparing for the worst, but we're really hoping for the best, if that
Of
makes
course.
sense.
I have some more questions about Chelsea, but I saw this question come up twice by Wheel B. So maybe with
Sure.
your notes and your collaboration, we can kind of put this in. And you might know a little bit better because again, you guys are all a lot closer to the situation than I am. So he's asking,
I'm curious where Chelsea was on the 25th and the 26th after leaving on the 24th. Her first
Right.
connection to anyone that we know of was a girly friend in Phoenix on the 27th and being seen at a hotel in, I think it's Siegelman or Seigelman. I may have that wrong. But do we know any of her whereabouts where she was the 25th or the 26th?
Well, we do have that information, but I don't think that's something that's going to be publicly released yet.
Okay.
And that's the police are in contact with the girlfriend that she met up with. She met up with
Okay.
the girlfriend, and then she abruptly canceled on her the following day. And I want to say that was maybe the 26th that she met
Okay.
up with her. And then it was the 27th that they were supposed to have lunch or something. And she
27th,
can't.
and then she canceled
Right.
the very much next day on the 28th.
Right. But
Yeah.
I do know, like, through her sister, that they do know who it was that she was meeting up with, and police have talked to that person.
Okay. So that's
Yeah.
all we can really put out there right now.
Right.
And I do know that being in the group chat, there are things that we can talk about. There are things that we're not allowed to talk about because obviously law enforcement is involved and the private investigator is all involved as well. So,
Right.
with sensitivity and respect to the situation, if Artemis feels a certain way or a certain thing that she cannot talk about, we're going to respect that tonight. So, that's where we'll go with that.
Yeah, I wish I could, only just to get information out there, not to speculate or gossip
Right.
or anything
'Cause
like
this is an
that.
ongoing investigation, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And, you just don't know who they're keeping tabs on, the private
Oh, no.
investigator or law enforcement, and you just
Right.
don't want to scare them
Of
away.
course.
So,
Of course.
yeah.
And we're saying if this is a person, that's the thing, because I'm sure there probably are some
Yeah.
people of interest in this case right now. With privy to that, we just, we can't share that. We don't know at this point. So,
Yep.
so let me ask you, was Chelsea the type of person to be kind of this free floating spirit? Did you ever know of a situation when you were just getting to know her, growing up over the 15 years that she would do something like this, kind of like take off or kind of, be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Adventurous in these types of situations.
I mean, I can kind of say that before boarding school, there was a lot in Chelsea's past that, like, we can, look at mental health
Sure.
and all of that. And again, it's like, I don't want to dive down the road of like
Right.
our boarding school again, but I know that Chelsea wasn't a shy person. I'll put it that way, is that she was not just this reserved person. She definitely cared about her friends deeply.
Hmm.
And she seemed to be, at least in, the years post boarding school, that she wasn't afraid of adventure. I mean, heck, she moved from New York to California to get her license out there. And I know at the time she was dating a different guy that she moved to California with, and she ended up getting her license there. She got her education at NYU, and then
Hmm.
she got her license in California.
Yeah.
But I know that she's not. I don't want to say she's the type of person that, at least to my knowledge, people who were closer to her in the years, like, because people change, right? Like,
Of
just because of
course.
my experience of her, talking to her post boarding school and even during boarding school wouldn't necessarily mean that she didn't, change and she was the spontaneous type. But I know she did struggle with some things like that before boarding school, after boarding school. And she did have, according to what we know, all of us friends, is that she had some issues with drugs. And that's definitely something to note, and something that we've been, wondering if that might have to do directly with her disappearance.
Right.
And it could. And it's either, like we discussed the other night, it's either this could be a drug related issue. This could be a mental health related issue easily.
Yeah.
Or, again, is, the question of it was this foul play. And there was a point that we both all like kind of like as a group were like, there's no way that she, at least in our minds, that she went to a rehab because her car was found with all of her belongings. Um, you would think that if she was really trying to like do something of like self-help, that she would have let one of us know. And she did let us know that in a text message that she was going to, like go on some spiritual trip of hers, like almost like, trying to find herself again. No one really knew what that meant. Again, it feels like she was leaving breadcrumbs, but again, it could just be um her in a state of confusion if she was coming down from a drug binge or something like that. So we kind of have to explore like all possibilities, either if it was drug related, mental health, or if this was unfortunately some kind of an abduction or foul play.
Yeah, there's a couple of scenarios that go through my head. Um, I see mental health. That's the
Yeah.
one that I'm leading really towards right now. I don't want to get too graphic, descriptive with it. Um, and the other scenario is this. Maybe she did get two flat tires out there, and someone came along and was like, "Hey, do you need a ride?" I mean, this would be the worst situation. Someone says, "Hey, you need a ride somewhere," and something happened.
Hmm.
She got into a car, just grabbed a bunch of stuff at the last minute, jumped in this car thinking that she's going to go to a gas station or police station or whatever to get help, and something happened. I mean, that's really the two scenarios that kind of hit me at this point. Um, but I lean more towards the mental health, and I think the thing that bothers me is her travel of path of travel. It's almost like, she starts out, she's heading east, then she turns around and goes west, and she goes back east again. She goes west, then she starts traveling north, almost like northwest to go back towards home. It's just, to me, it seems confusion. Like she's spinning a circle. Like, should I go to Connecticut? Should I go back home? Should I go to Connecticut? Should I go back home? And then, obviously the body cam footage we see, she's upset. She's visually upset about something. Um, and I almost thought the officer interaction, she was kind of being dismissive a little bit, but she was trying to be really nice about it and not be rude or calling attention to herself. And that's kind of
Hmm.
what I got from it. And again, this is just my view. When I look at it, I'm not speaking for anybody, but that's kind of what I pick up on. And
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think also the not only the sporadic movement in her travels around the Arizona area, but what we were kind of connecting the dots is like her sporadic movement around the California area.
sure.
Um, what we think we're not sure, but like she left on the 24th, and then it took her till to get like almost 3 days, and then she had called her parents and said, all right, I'm not going to be able to make it to the wedding. This was too much of a
Right.
drive. I'm just going to kind of hang here in Arizona.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what was she doing for 3 days? And where was she for that amount of time when it should really only take her like, maximum with traffic 6 or 7 hours to get
Right.
from OB to the places in Arizona she was trying to get to. It doesn't really add up. So we were wondering, was she trying to, go to LA, make a pit stop in LA, and then like go over to Arizona? It's really kind of hard because we don't have any exact. She wasn't really straightforward with any of her friends either. Like all of us that have the text messages from her, even during the time before she left, it was all very vague. And a lot of people got weird text messages and they're like, maybe they just wrote it off and thought, oh, it's
Yeah.
just Chelsea being because it was not in her character, but not really. It was both not in her character and in her character, which I
Yeah.
don't know if that makes sense at all to you,
Yeah,
but it's just
sure.
kind of like easy to write off. And that's what
Right.
makes you feel so bad when these things happen, I think, is because, we're so caught up in our own lives that we don't stop to think, oh wait, is this odd? Is this weird?
Right.
And, that's happened to other personal friends of mine where I might have not talked to them for a while because I thought maybe they were acting a little funny. And then, God forbid, something bad happens to them later on down the road. And then you feel bad about it. But
Of course.
you just never know what's going on in somebody's life when, you're not really paying that much attention.
Yeah, let me just take a quick pause here real quick, just because we're getting a lot more people coming in the room. If you're just joining us this evening, we're having a conversation with one of Chelsea Grimm's friends. She goes by the screen name Artemis, and really want to just welcome her, and thank her for coming on the panel. Her and I have been in some conversations for the last 48 hours. I'm in a verified chat group with about 20 of Chelsea's friends that have grown up or been close to Chelsea over the last 15 years or so. And it's been very nice that Artemis would take this time and join us on the panel. I just want to make sure that we're just very, very respectful here in the LTL chat. This is a person that doesn't have to come on the panel, and she's lending her time to be here to get Chelsea's story out and tell us a little bit more about Chelsea and some of the investigating that they've done over the past 2 weeks here. So we want to make sure that we're respectful in the chat. I see other people in the chat. They're from some other streams that are fighting in here. If you're just going to do that, you can leave the chat, because we don't want that type of conversation in here. And, we're trying to be positive and productive here, because this is not about fighting on other streams. This is about Chelsea in this very moment. So I just wanted to take the time to do that and just let everybody know about that out there. So do you know the reason why she might have moved? It seemed like she was pretty much an East Coast girl pretty much her whole life. Was there anything that brought her out into the
Right.
California area? Do you know anything about that?
I'm not sure, but I would think that it might have had to do with her ex-boyfriend. I won't name his name. But I think he was a musician.
Sure.
Um, and I, I don't know if that was one of the reasons why. Also, we do have some mutual friends from our boarding school that a good chunk of them actually live in the California area. I
Hmm.
have no idea if that is or isn't part of the reason why, but it could just be that it was them as a couple deciding to move to
Sure.
California. I know they moved as a couple, um, and then they broke up a while back, and I know he's involved in the investigation. If anyone's listening and like wondering,
Right.
he's very much cooperative with law enforcement, and
Good.
they don't suspect him at all.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I think that probably is why. And maybe just a change of scenery for both of them, because I think they met at NYU. I'm pretty sure,
Sure.
and then they decided they were gonna move back or move to California. Um, and I think he's currently living on the East Coast again. So
Got
she
it.
decided to stay in California.
Right.
And, I think the rest of that story can kind of wait until further information comes out.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah.
spinning a little. I mean, people aren't dumb. They can look online. I mean, you can
Yeah,
see some of the conversations that are going
it's
on
out
here.
there.
It's out there. It's spinning. We've
Yeah,
talked about some of it here. I'm not going to get too much in depth, because it's really not my business. But that's something for law enforcement and the private
right,
investigator to figure out at this point. So Avery has a question here, if you don't mind, and maybe we can
right.
give a little context. So she says, have there been any updates tonight on Chelsea? I know a PA, they may have updates. So maybe you actually probably could answer a little bit more than I could, because you're connected to the PI. So
Right. No, he is working really hard. I think this guy is the type of guy that works around the clock.
yeah,
He was very welcoming of me when I spoke to him on the phone earlier, and then he was like, "Yeah, just text message me, and here's my email." Sent him
that's
a
great.
pretty extensive document that I put together this morning, and he was really appreciative of that. But what he did let me know is that that he is working on some stuff. So I
Good.
do think, I don't know for sure when, but information will be coming out. So he's kind of just crossing his T's and dotting his I's right
Sure.
now, and then he's having some conversation with key players in this
Right.
live conversation, and then we'll see what comes of it. And it's also up to the family what they decide they do or don't want to be released to the public at this time.
Right. Yeah, you know, I mean, that's the benefit of a PI is that they don't have other cases like law enforcement have, so they can just solely take on a case and concentrate and focus on that, you know, laser focused on it and get to some answers quicker and obviously work along with law enforcement to pass that information over as well too. So that's really great. Um yeah, I mean, it's just it's a crazy case.
Yeah.
It's just such a crazy case at this point, and, you know, the thing that just kinda startles me is that, you know, learning about the search area that they've been in and around near Chelsea's car, I mean, I think there's been a 3-mile search radius, and they have found nothing. There's no clues, there's not a piece of clothing, a shoe, like, we haven't heard anything yet, so it's just really weird.
Right. It is really weird. And I think once we do get that information out to the public, and we're able to talk about it here on this live, things will get a little bit more interesting.
Mm,
And you'll be, in our chat, and you'll be getting updates in real time when we do know when that's going to be released. So,
awesome.
um, you know, we'll kind of go from there. But I think I'm just praying that tomorrow we wake up and something pops off, and this PI was able to make a breakthrough tonight, because it sounded like he was working on it.
Wow.
So we'll see. Fingers
Wow,
crossed.
that's great.
Yeah.
So someone's asking, her Facebook page showed formerly living in Arizona, Desert Hills. Any connection there?
Um, I don't know. I don't have Facebook, so most of the friends in our group do. So
Mhm.
they might be able to sleuth that a little bit, but I
Yeah.
don't have her on Facebook because I don't have a Facebook, but I can look into that tonight.
Can I just show I wanna show you something that's I'm gonna bring it up on here on the screen that's kinda concerned me a little bit, and this
Yeah.
is something that I always think about, and actually, I think you and I have talked about the Circle K, and
Yeah.
that was very interesting, and I just wanna pull this up here. So there was a witness or, you know, and again, we don't know 100 when someone puts a statement out there or says, "Hey, I may have saw someone that looked like her," you know, obviously, law enforcement's gonna, act on those leads, but it could just be nothing at this point. But I thought this was interesting. So this person I found in a Facebook group on the Coconino actually sheriff's uh, posting. You can go on there and see this, but they wanted to say, I don't know if anyone reported seeing her with a guy in an older Camry that was grayish to sandish color, but I seen that car at Circle K near Prescott Airport on the 2nd. A female was holding a bearded dragon on her chest, and that's why I talked about earlier in the police video. It seemed that she had the dragon on her chest because the cop, oh, I didn't even see it there. And she kind of looked down to her right shoulder, which would be to the window, and kind of looked at the bearded dragon. And it says a female was holding a bearded dragon on her chest. Besides the bearded dragon, I have no other indication it was her. She didn't seem to be in distress, though, as the male driver went inside and left her alone for about 10 minutes. So I saw that. And then I saw this post on Facebook, which was interesting. That's in the Coconino Sheriff's Department. It says here from this lady named Judith. She says, I also seen a gray vehicle, which kind of prompted my ears because of this Camry was supposedly gray, with a woman with red hair and purple shirt, blue jeans, parked off where the canyon are, back on the back road from Williams to Drake on October 1st around 4 p.m. So I find that very interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, I know that we one of our friends in our group chat that we're in did talk to the Circle K person
Sure.
in a direct message
Oh,
today.
okay.
Um yeah, I totally forgot to share that, or we were just kind of side chatting about it a little bit
Yeah.
right
And
before all
again,
of
I
this.
didn't want to come out. You know, I asked you something earlier. Hey, can I share this stuff? And
Yeah.
you were like, let's just hold off. And I was like, okay, because I didn't, you know, like I said, you're closer to Chelsea than I will ever be. You know, I don't know her, and I don't want to put any information out. That's why I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're able to do this. And I just said, you know what, I'm going to hold back. And just let you come on and talk. But I'm sorry to cut you off. You were talking about
No, all
the
good.
other day. Yeah.
No, but I definitely appreciate it, because it's also me, like, not wanting to personally, it's like I wish I could talk about whatever in
Sure.
this case too, but I also am respectful, and I want to find Chelsea. So it's like,
Right.
if we could potentially like scare somebody off or tip something that's going to lead people in the wrong
Right.
direction, then we don't want to do that. So, because this is out to the public, this is not just in our little private group chat
No,
where we can say
we're
whatever
very
we
public
want.
right now.
Right. Exactly. So, but no, but yeah, a friend, I can kind of link that to you later tonight.
Oh, great.
She'll probably share that too. She's probably listening, but the conversation she had, it basically turned out to be that he's just saying the same thing over and over again. Like, didn't really
Hmm,
elaborate as far as I know.
got it.
I haven't checked, because I think like it was like maybe 20 minutes before I hopped on this stream that I
Sure.
had that conversation with her. But as far as I know, like, that could be a very well a possible lead, and the PI has that information as well.
Hmm,
So, like, we'll see if that's accurate, because that area is definitely a hot spot where they're
ah,
looking.
ah, okay.
That Prescott area. So I
Okay.
mean, yeah, I mean, I think we want to focus on, you know, the Arizona area, but I think at this point it's been so long, we'll see what, the PI has to say, and the news report has to say when they do release things out to the public. But if this extends further than Arizona at this point, that's very possible.
Hmm,
So, we still want people to be looking in that isolated area, because that's where her car was found. But, I think that um, it is possible at this point. If she did hitch a ride, it's been 2 weeks.
yeah.
Um, she could be anywhere at this point. Um, so yeah, we're just hoping that this is something like, if it is mental health and she just doesn't want to be found, and she, or went on a retreat or went to a drug rehab, that's very possible. We just don't know for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
you know, let's just I guess quarterback this. Let's say, you know, from what we're understanding and what I'm understanding, and I'll say this because I can, you know, you again, everybody can start figuring some things out here because we have the internet and we can look into things and we can see certain connections. We don't have all of the transparency like her friends would have that can get deeper into social media, but let's just quarterback this. Let's say she's having some trouble out in San Diego. You know, she wanted to take this ride to maybe think about clearing her mind and maybe possibly turning her life around. She gets out into Arizona and starts contemplating some things, and then in the sense of, maybe wanting to change her life or clean her life up in a certain way, maybe rid herself of some things in her life. And people do this. They just check themselves in somewhere and say, I don't want to be found.
yeah,
Like I want to just go away for 30 days. That could be a possibility here. I mean, Arizona has many, many retreats that you can go to. And maybe she felt refuge out there, in the wilderness or in this area. We know she's been familiar with this area in and around there. Sedona's right there. It's beautiful. They probably have tons of refuges. Sometimes people do this. And maybe that will be the best
right.
case scenario in this. And she wanted to make it look like, hey, I've just kind of disappeared, and
Yeah.
30 days later she pops up and that could be a possibility.
Yeah, who knows? Like, maybe the flat tires, like, she did get like, legitimately got flat tires,
Sure.
and she got a ride to where she was going, which was a retreat. And
Sure.
that's why the radio silence.
Mhm.
You know, who knows? But she did go on a retreat to Arizona. I think it was a year ago. Like,
Interesting.
I don't know if it was this time last year. We can touch more on that in the group chat, but I know
Sure.
that she did go on some kind of, like, I think it was like a I don't know if it was a self-help thing or what it was exactly, but it was definitely in Arizona.
Hmm.
So her doing some kind of a retreat, um, whether it was just like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a drug rehab retreat, but just a meditative cleansing of the
Right.
spirit. That seemed like that would be more in like Chelsea's character from what we all
Right.
know, I
I know
think.
there's a question here asked
And
about
some people,
medication. Yeah. I was going to say, I know there was a question here asked about medication. We're not going to get into that. That's very personal stuff. One, that's not my
yeah,
business, and two, that's not the public's business because we have HIPAA laws, just like Bella was saying. So we're not going to talk about that. So
right.
Sandy's asking, would she put her parents through that? Any credit card activity? So her credit card activity stopped in and around, I believe, what, the 28th or 29th, correct?
Yeah, I want to say I think that it was around the time her phone
Shut
wasn't
off.
pinging
Right.
anymore. Yeah. Because I think they did have the information for like the Find My iPhone that one of the
Yeah.
neighbors did. And they tried that. They tried to ping, but it had been too long. Um, so that means it was just off for too long by the time they tried.
Hmm.
Um, and there was some weird stuff going on with the iCloud information and all of that. But
Interesting.
yeah, that all is odd. And so you would think that, if someone's not making payments, right? Like they're not using their debit card or any, like, did she have cash somewhere? Did
Right.
she take out cash? Like, you know, using a debit or credit card isn't the only way to, pay for things, but you'd have to have a cell phone or a credit or debit card or cash
Hmm.
these days. So, I don't, yeah, um, we don't know. Something again, I'm sure the PI is looking into that
Yeah.
and looking into, who she talked to last. They can subpoena all of that. They can subpoena the phone records and find who her last text message was sent to. That could be raising some eyebrows and putting them more in the, camp of looking at some of these leads they're looking at. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I think you're right. I think you're right that, this could be either a mental health crisis. She could be out of rehab and just doesn't want to be found,
Hmm.
or this could be something where someone did something a little bit more sinister,
Right.
or even if it was an accident and that person freaked out and, again, like, we're speculating
Sure.
obviously, but if that were the case, then that could be another possibility. That happens a lot as well. So,
So I had a text question come in from one of my viewers, and they asked me if the FBI is involved. Not that I know of at this point. And I don't know if Artemis knows this. I know that the Coconino Sheriff's Department is involved. They have the private investigator that's involved. But as far as the FBI, um, I don't know anything about that. And then I just want to answer this question really quick from Wheels. Wheels is asking about, do we know if they fully investigated the CCTV at the Love? I would think they have, because the only reason I would say that is that's something that's talked about in the video, in the 9-minute body cam video. So I'm sure that they've gone there, they've pulled CCTV video from there. Um, I'm sure they've scoured the area in and around that 3-mile radius to where any of those gas stations would be. So I'm sure if law enforcement has done that, I guarantee the PI has asked about it. So
yeah, I can vouch for that. The PI did message me about that today,
okay,
so he's on top of that. So,
yeah,
I think that was one of the things he was working on. So,
right, good to know. Um, I don't know. I mean, anything else that you want to add or share? Um, um, it's been a very interesting conversation. It's been very
Yeah, I
eye-opening
feel
for me.
limited, so I'm like
Of course.
thinking about what I'm gonna say
Right.
before I say
Right.
it, like names and stuff. But
Right.
uh I think it was a great conversation.
Mhm.
Definitely can get some people's wheels turning out there. And obviously, if anyone listening has any information, please call it into the Coconino County Sheriff's Department. That's the best. That's your best bet to tip. Um, and then hopefully we can reconvene in a day or two and have another conversation, and hopefully by then they'll have released some of this information we're talking about.
Of course. Do you have a couple more minutes to hang out?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
And then I think I'll probably have to relieve my other half because he's juggling the two twin babies right
Okay.
now.
Why don't we do this? I'm gonna let you go. I don't want to hold you off on the babies.
No
Um,
worries.
I listen, I want to thank you for your time. I hope that we can reconvene. I have a important stream coming up tomorrow night. I may take a day off or two, let this settle a little bit. And then if you have anything that's new, let me know in the chat. We'll fire up a stream, and anything that you can release that's you're able to talk about, of course, vetted through the parents, and we just want to be sensitive in that nature as well. And maybe we have some new tips that come in through law enforcement.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds like a plan, and we can definitely chat in the group tonight.
Yep.
Thank you again for everything you're doing. I know you're a small channel, and I hope this, boosts your likes a little bit and gets attention. Because for Chelsea and um, you are doing some very honest, integrative work. So I thank you for that and applaud you for that. And we'll definitely be in touch these next couple days.
Yeah. The thing is, and really quick, the thing is here is that I know people get very hesitant to go on these true crime podcast channels because I notice in about 90% of them, maybe 95%, what they do is they interject a lot of speculation or a lot of bad information. And obviously, we know this for clicks and views. I mean, I know the channels that do it. It's pretty disgusting. And I've said this all along. My channel is here to help and support. Um, I want to open my platform up for stories like this, for a platform to people come to feel safe about, and just let them talk. Like just get the information out there. I don't care about a subscriber. I don't care about a like. All I want to do is get as many views on this video for people to listen, and maybe they were in and around that area or know where Chelsea is and can help. And that was my sole purpose of doing this, to really connect with all of you, and be able to allow me to open my platform to you. And I want to just let you know, you are doing something. You are all doing something that's behind the scenes and involved in this. So don't think that you're not, and don't discount yourself, because I think you all in that chat are doing an amazing job. And for someone to be private and come on a panel like this and open themselves up and talk about stuff, it's a lot of bravery to do that. So I commend you for doing this, and I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, thank you. And we're Team Chelsea for sure. You
Yeah,
can.
absolutely. A lot of and they'll probably start doing it now. We've been having my chat post a lot of yellow hearts in the chat in support for Chelsea. So,
Oh,
that's what
that's
we want to do
amazing.
here. So,
Thank you guys.
yeah, they come in and they start posting the yellow hearts, and they're probably going to be flying here in a second. So, but I really do appreciate it. I'll let you get to your twins. Let's reconvene, and of course we'll talk in chat and be in connection.
Perfect. Will do. Have a great night, everybody, and
All right.
thank you again.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Artemis, for opening up yourself. Thank you for telling us about Chelsea and sharing some information with us about her, and sharing the information that you and your friends have been sleuthing behind the scenes. Truly amazing what a community of people can get together and do. And again, I don't have a personal connection to Chelsea, but I'm learning a lot about her, and I can say this, that there are a lot of people behind the scenes that really care for her and want to see her come home and see her come home safe. And we truly believe that we're going to do that. We're gonna be able to bring her home. And I have someone here that I want to bring in that we've heard a lot about. His name has come up a lot. Maybe we can get some answers to some questions. And he's reached out to me a little bit and kind of in the fray. We've been hearing a lot about him. So let's bring him in here. We have, let me just bring him up here. Elias joining the show. Welcome to LTL Podcast. How are you, man?
Hey, good. How are you doing, man?
Good. So we're hearing your name a lot, come up in a lot of articles, and I'm seeing you on IG. You've been reaching out to me, and I kind of want to hear what's going on. What you got going on down there in Williams and Ashbrook?
Well, so this is the situation. I know Chelsea from Ocean Beach, California. We've been friends for like a year, just like more acquaintances. I know Rozzy, and I know her ex-boyfriend or very recent boyfriend. I was in LA helping my mother. She's very ill, and I went to San Diego to decompress a little bit, of course. And he got a hold of me and he's like, would you come help me search for Chelsea? I'm like, absolutely, let's go. And on a whim, just went and did it and started doing some investigative research here, just like basic stuff, flyering and this and that, visiting the site. Then got a little more involved when I met an Army Ranger and his medium wife. They took us in and they let us stay at their hotel, and then continued to help us on the search with their Jeep and his artillery force, because he, like I said, he's a Army Ranger. So some of the areas we've been going are quite dangerous, full of very interesting people on drugs and stuff like that. It's a very vast area. I was very surprised to find that one of the first things I found out was that the Williams police were really never looking, but looking out for Chelsea. And so one of the first things I did on my way into Ash Fork was notice on the side of the road some fire mitigation firefighters, a group of 20 or 30 of them. So I pulled over, gave them the information that we know. Not a single one of them have heard of the situation. So now they're out there and their whole force knows to be on the lookout. I then contacted the U.S. Rangers because I couldn't find Forest Station Road 6 on any Google or anything. And then a local brought me to that, but then found out when I hit up the U.S. Rangers, who are constantly out in the woods and doing stuff, they had also not been notified, no all points bulletin. And now, just after 2 weeks, 2 days after the disappearance or something like that, the Coconino Sheriff Department has now stated that they're pretty much completely backing out of the foot search and for a physical search. So anything civilians can do to, get the word out like you're doing, I super appreciate this. Yeah. And I was able to contact other people that she spoke to even after some of the people in the news, including one of the woodcutters. I don't think so. And also did some night reconnaissance and sent some of my drone friends out for probably like a 75-mile sweep over the past week and 3 days or so, and alerted many hunters, and then gathered some new suspicious activity that we found when someone tailed us at about 10 p.m. maybe 3 days ago. Please go ahead. You asked me some questions, man.
Well, the biggest thing for you, and I think that we've been hearing a lot about, because when we hear this kind of in the media, is, we know a name PJ that has come up. We know about a GoFundMe. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because that was a lot of, some negative press on you.
Absolutely.
And, talk to us about that. What's your relationship with? Take me back a little bit first. How did you first meet Chelsea? How did you first meet PJ? And then how did you end up in this situation? Let's talk about that first.
I first met PJ and Chelsea right around the same time, probably upwards of one of them at least a year ago, all within about a year's time. And they were together on the beach and probably hung out with them twice,
Mhm.
together with the group of friends, just, hanging out, having a couple beers and having a fire.
Sure, sure.
And then I actually saw PJ with Roxy, whatever you want, either way you can
Sure.
call her. And I even babysat that lizard, so I had no reason to think anything that like he's not liked by the family, and like actually he made it seem like he was dealing directly with them.
Yep.
I know at least the sister's not too particularly fond of him. Honestly, I don't think he's any kind of involved or anything, but there was no malicious intent even by him to take money from anything or exploit this whatsoever.
So then why start the $30,000 GoFundMe? If you're not exploiting us, if you're saying that he's not looking to exploit any situation, then why start that?
Because he was going to use it strictly for this, and that's the honest truth.
Okay.
And would have provided any kind of thing as far as receipts or anything like that.
Okay. Do you know what his plan was to do with I mean, 30,000 is a lot of money, Elias.
I really know that, and he didn't have an active phone, so I allowed him to use my phone. So, I mean, I kind of got caught up in a weird predicament, but
Sure.
and that's why I made the immediate apology. But he did on the whole first leg of this, I have to say 100% crowdsourced through his family and friends in Ocean Beach enough money to get a large vehicle out here and provide food and this and that. And, he was out there in the field. He was doing the thing. And that's a fact.
So have
I'm
you
not,
parted? Go ahead.
yeah, I parted ways with him just moments before I posted the video.
And what day was that, or what date was that? Do you remember?
You can actually check the video on this was probably maybe 5 or 6 days ago now.
Okay.
I have not been with him.
So where are you now? What area have you been searching, and what have you been finding out through all of your, searching around and talking to people? What are you hearing is the last contact that anybody's had? Have you heard anything other than law enforcement? What are your leads telling you?
I only get, kind of suspicious leads as there are a couple of reservoirs very near there that a large amount of very sketchy people, like meth heads and possibly even people manufacture. It's a really sketchy place. If you saw it, you know what I mean. A lot of like strange little sheds and things.
Like, what the heck was I going to say? What's that show? Breaking Bad? It's the kind of stuff.
Absolutely, 100% exactly like Breaking Bad, and you can. It's very, very much like that. And I was kind of warned, like, especially if at night, to not go there with people that aren't armed. And one of the missions the other night, we went out and with my friend Ray, that I know from Las Vegas, he actually supported with his Jeep Wrangler and his RV trailer. And we set up like a base camp quite a bit of ways just to, be able to clear our heads and stuff, and then return to the site. So the other night we're out there, we had taken a wrong road, which is let's see, 124 is where you're supposed to go to find where the vehicle was. We went on another one. A rancher stopped us and he's like, this is not a way you're going to find anything. You need to turn around. This is like endless. There's like 500,000 acres of national forest back here. So we're on our way to the train trellis area that connects to Forest Station Road 6. And I notice we're getting tailed by a truck probably half mile away for about 10 minutes or so. We stopped the vehicle right in the road so that they can pass us or whatever.
Right.
And they didn't gain on us. And that's very strange. So we continue on. I pull into the road before Station Road 6 by accident because it was dark and I couldn't really see where we were. And that same truck passes us all strange. And then we continue down the road. He's like, that truck just saw us and he just got like chills down his spine. We continued down the road about 2 miles and then turn into the actual place that her vehicle was found. And that truck was there running with a man inside of it under a tree near the train trellis on 6, which
Interesting.
I found to be highly suspect. And the mannerisms that the man displayed once we turned around, I didn't have time to quickly pull out my phone, but it was like late 90s, early thousands, maybe Toyota Tacoma, big tires, and a brand new temporary plate. And when we pass a man, especially in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere like that, we caught a very good glimpse of the person. He didn't turn his head to the right, to look away from us, but he also didn't like turn his head to acknowledge us. He just kind of stared straight because when we turned around, he was directly in the headlights. And this man was probably 6'1", pretty hefty mustache, dark colored. Couldn't really decipher the color of his skin, but he was a big, bulky man, probably not fat, but muscular, kind of like a construction worker's build.
Yep.
And so we get out of there and burn some dust, go down the road, and we're kind of scared shitless. I'm not,
Right.
like I said, we're not carrying weapons or anything like that.
Right.
So then we have to make this decision: do we go back and try to get a picture of him?
Right.
And then sat there and pondered that for about 5 or 10 minutes, and we're like, all right, just pull into the end because your vehicle's faster than his. If we have to drive away quickly, we can. But I'll keep the video going. I have the video of that, by the way.
Yeah,
And
send that to
I
me.
said, I'll send you anything I
Yeah.
got. So
Cool.
I go to him and I'm like, so one thing, bro, he was following us from the Ash Fork way. There's only one way to Williams. If he's not there when we turn around, this is super sketchy and this is probably some serious lead. We turn around, pull into the spot, and the dude's gone.
Wow.
So I've notified the Coconino Sheriff Department and locals and anybody I see out in the field on ATVs and side-by-sides and stuff.
Yeah.
And I show pictures of Chelsea's search. I tell them anything I can and proceed with caution.
So where are you now? Are you in Williams or Ashford? Like, where are you located
I'm in
now?
Sedona at the moment, to be honest. So I came here on a lead from a bartender named Jackie that works at one of the main watering holes
Right.
to meet up with somebody that's actually not going back to work until Sunday. So I
Sure.
kind of missed them, but I'll say a couple of the people I'm talking to are mediums, and I'm not going to be opposed to taking those routes if there's not too much effort.
Right.
Because even the family's private investigators used a medium's tip as some new information. So
Sure.
I'm just doing the best I can.
Are you from in and around that area? Like, where are you from?
I'm from New York originally, but I've relocated to the West Coast because, like I said before, my mother's quite ill in Los Angeles with a pretty shitty disease that
Sorry to hear that, man.
is not curable. That's a whole different story. But
So I have if you don't mind, if I can take some questions from the audience. They have some questions for you. Do you know if the FBI is involved in the case?
so I'm hearing that there will be talks to the FBI within the next 24 hours. That's the knowledge I get. I can't really disclose where it's coming from. I was asked not to.
Sure.
But yes, people are contacting the FBI very shortly here.
Okay.
I don't know if they already have. I can't confirm that.
Sure. Another question. Was she skilled in outdoor types of stuff, like being able to survive outdoors? Do you know that?
Yes, she is, and I do know that for a fact.
Okay.
She hikes and everything, and I mean, she's a pretty smart woman.
Okay. Let me see if I have any more questions here. Tsunami's asking, have they tried using the spirit box for clues yet?
No, but that's something that has been mentioned to me, to be honest. I'd like to give their names, but I don't have permission to. But right here in Sedona, 2 mediums have been contacted via another medium in Williams. That's a 40-year friend of one of them, and we had a very deeply beautiful and good prayer and like a moment with a group of people, sending our intentions out to Chelsea and everything like that.
Sure.
So I just thought that was a really special lead, and these are upstanding citizens in the community that work at some of the places that everybody frequents here.
So VC, I don't know if you've heard of Yolanda Miller, and they're asking, do you think that there's any similarities between Yolanda Miller's case of Sedona last year? I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I'm lightly familiar with that, and that's still unsolved, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Well, one of the most unfortunate things about anything is, quite honestly, this area and that area over there is it's a very well known for human trafficking and things of the sort, and there's a very dark set of colors of people that are in the area involved with it.
What do
That's
you
what I
think
can say about
happened?
it. What's that?
What do you think happened? What's when you're investigating and you've been out there, you've been kind of boots on the ground and kind of putting things together, and you've been out there, so
Yeah.
you've seen the area, her, you know.
Yeah, and
sort
she's a
of. What do
very
you think?
free-spirited person that would, hang out with anybody that seems trustworthy. But also, I don't think this hasn't been said nationally yet, but from close friends, it had been mentioned that she really wanted to start a whole new life and this, that, and the other thing, and actually even mentioned potentially going to Mexico.
Interesting.
So if you haven't heard about that on the news and that hasn't leaked out, I'll be the first to tell you, and that comes from a horse's mouth. And multiple friends could probably step forward and say that with their hand on the Bible with no problem.
Is that what you're starting to think? You think she just
it's really hard to say. One of the things I found harder than anything is to get other than officers that I meet in a public setting.
Yeah.
Getting to talk to Detective Luna, who's in charge of the case, or any other people like the sergeant that's also involved with it.
Right.
I'm having a very hard time. The information's not out there, and I just wish they would share a little bit more. Kind of like, okay, the tires were popped. Why were they popped? Did they do a test to see if they were punctured by something in the road? Were they slashed? That was actually one of the first questions I had in my mind. When her vehicle was found, I'm like, wow, 2 tires. That could make sense with a driver that's not used to driving on that terrain because it's pretty rocky out there. But why were the tires slashed? Why was the camera left behind? There's a few things,
So you're confirming here on LTL podcast, you're saying that her tires were slashed.
I cannot confirm that. No, that's the information I wanted to know. That's some of the most pivotal information I could want to know is what punctured the tires. Were they punctured simultaneously? Were they made to look like it was disabled to throw people off for a couple days? I don't really know what to say about that. But that's one of the things I think the public should know. How were those tires popped?
Right. I mean, that's something that we're trying to figure out. Well, it seems weird to me. I can see, and I'm sure, you've thought about this too. 1 tire, but 2 on the same side, it's a little weird.
And seeing exact sight, okay? The road is, big enough for one vehicle to drive comfortably in one direction. If there's a vehicle coming the other direction, you're going to have to step aside. The positioning of the vehicle, how in the middle of the road it was, is just super weird. Anybody's common sense is to, pull to the side a bit.
Right.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Have you been out to the area, this specific area? Because this is the video from that area.
Yes, I have multiple videos. I have at least 30 minutes of videos from out there.
Cool.
And at night.
Man, I'd like to see them.
Yes, I will. I will.
Yeah,
I just posted one a few hours ago online. So if you want to check that out.
Yeah,
and I have several others we can go and walk through with you.
Cool.
And tell you where it was.
So in the chat there, they're asking, have you heard anything of any, in the people that you've come across, have you heard anything of mention of foul play or a kidnapping or anything like that?
Yes, and some of the locals I've talked to in Ashfork, mainly Ashfork, which is a very rundown, very small town, very eerie little town. But most of the people I've talked to are relatively friendly. And I talked to and interviewed a few just people just to ask a little bit more about the area. They're like, "Hey, is this a place that this happened?" He's like, "Yeah, man. To be honest, all the time." And and this guy's the person I talked to is the one that gave me the information about the reservoirs. One of the mediums had mentioned a hut type thing with maybe a tin roof and some old barnwood type stuff at the base of a mountain near a reservoir. She had never heard of Chelsea's name, and the first thing she said before I showed her a picture of Chelsea a week and a half ago, she said, "Big frame glasses, prescription." And she's like, I see big. So I don't, I'm not one to disbelieve anything or discredit anybody with an ESP talent, but the way that she came out and said something like that, and the fact that she pointed down the road to other people that will, give their abilities to help without paying for it as a gift from their heart.
So I have a question here, and they're asking, how did PJ know her car was out of gas when law enforcement didn't? It's been written in the GFM. Is Elias going to delete the GoFundMe like he said he wouldn't a number of days ago on his IG?
I'm sorry. Hold on. Can you roll the window up, buddy? Sorry, I'm driving right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not driving, but what was the last part?
Sure. So they're asking, how did I'll go one by one. They said, how did PJ know her car was out of gas when law enforcement didn't?
Oh, who said that? I never heard about that.
Okay. And then it's saying it was written in the GoFundMe. And then it's asking, they're asking, is Elias going to delete the GoFundMe like he said he would a number of days ago on his IG?
I did that a long time ago, and I was live talking to the sister when I did it, and I apologized directly to the family, So that was something that was the second I started getting messages and stuff, I immediately got on with her sister, Sarah, and told her everything the way I know it. And she's like, honestly, PJ's a bit unstable and he can trick people sometimes, but I really don't think he's a malevolent person. I think he just has some mental issues he needs to address, truly.
So someone's saying here in the chat, the same person, they're saying the GoFundMe is still live.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I mean, if that is, I'm going to go ahead and look. But yeah, no, nobody's received any money, and that was created from my phone by PJ. So if whatever I got to do to remove that, I will. That's on IG. Like, if someone can send me a link to a live page, I'll go shut it down. Like that. That's something I thought I already did.
Okay. What I'll do for you is I'll drop your IG if anybody, wants to send you a link or anything. I'll drop it in the chat.
Oh yeah, no, and I've actually, I told anybody not to respond to that link, and I was on the, I could send screenshots with the sister. I was on there trying to disable it. Like I said, I was 100%.
You said you did disable it. You said you disabled it.
I honestly thought I did, and I thought taking it down and going to my email, and if I didn't, then yeah, no, I haven't received anything from that. I thought it was disabled 100% because like I said, I was talking to the sister, and that's what I immediately tried to do. I'm not the most tech savvy person in the world.
Okay.
But
you're going to work on that. You're stating here you're going to work on that then.
Oh, yeah, dude. The second we go off this, I'll get right on that. No problem.
All right.
I have nothing to hide, man. Absolutely nothing to hide.
All right. So I don't know. Do you have anything else to add? What's your next plan going forward? You said you're in Sedona right now. Are you going to go back in the area and search? What's kind of your plan going forward here the next couple of days or week or so?
Honestly, some of the help that was ready and willing to come help me is my friend that owns a homestead near Williamson Valley. He's actually in South Dakota doing some beet farming for like the next week. I am gonna go and fly to my house in New York to go pick up my travel van and come back out here in like a few days.
So you're gonna
But
keep searching the area.
I'll probably be leaving the area in about 48 hours and be back within a week.
Okay.
But
All right.
one thing I would encourage people to do is to get a hold of any hunting sites or anything like that, or Cabela's stores, and just kind of spread the knowledge between the people that are actually out there, just for recreation and things. That's one of the main crowd sources. So yeah, I was here in Sedona, and just so happened to come across an older couple on their side by side, and they're going through those roads like tomorrow to just on a recreational thing. But the more eyes we have, out there on the back roads looking for whatever they can, the better, I believe.
Yeah, of course, man. All right, man. I'm going to let you go. Keep checking back in with me. Let me know how the progress is going. We'd like to hear some updates from you. I appreciate you taking some time and coming on the podcast, letting us know. Do you have any parting words before you go, man?
Hey man, let's just do the best we can to find Chelsea. Also, any drone enthusiast groups I've been joining to try to get more people with maybe drones and infrared out here. There's a
Sure.
lot of people doing things for fun out here that could be in on the search. Hikers, runners, whatever. And let's do what we can. And if anybody can get more knowledge from the Coconino sheriffs or some of the private investigators working on it, that'd be
Sure.
awesome. And thank you for having me and giving the opportunity to tell the story I have for you.
Yeah, man. Keep in touch with me.
I will.
All right. Keep us updated.
And I do want to apologize again for any confusion with the GoFundMe thing. I was only trying to help. And if there's anything running, please send me a link and help me deactivate it. That's an honest fact.
Yeah.
I have received no money. Only support I've received is people coming out with me and giving me their time, offering their vehicles and their love and prayers for Chelsea and her family. You should ask people to report it. Thank you, man.
What was that? What did you say? Ask
Oh.
what?
No, that's so my friend, what'd you say?
You should ask people to report the post or the link for the GoFundMe.
Oh yeah, if anybody sees that, report it. I don't know what else to do. Like I'll get on there and figure it out, man.
All right. Yeah,
I don't know. I really thought it was out.
Yeah,
but
keep me up to date with it, man.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
All right, Elias.
Nothing to hide. Not a dime's been taken from anybody.
All right, be safe out there, man. Keep in touch with me and keep me updated.
Thank you so much. I'll hit you up with a DM after.
All right, boss. Take care.
All right, man. Have a great night. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Take care. Be safe. All right, that is Elias. We had to bring him on. His name has come up a lot in this investigation. We wanted to hear from him. And I guess we've gotten his story so far. You can make what you want to make of it. But I thought I would bring him on and let you all hear from him because we've heard his name surrounding in and around this case.